guys, Domadoodles here, and today I'm going to be doing a video regarding a couple of decks that I think have the potential to do really good in this game, or have already proven themselves to be good in this game, that are not as expensive as you might think them to be. Now, let me remind you that any deck, whether it be 6 Samurais, which the main deck costs $30 or less, or Necros, which the main deck costs like $500, the extra deck will probably make it not like a budget cheap deck. You know, the extra deck for something like 6 Samurai, you know, Exciton, Castel, all that stuff, makes it like $200 alone. So while the main deck may be like budget, completely budget, the extra deck can probably like make it very, very expensive. So when I say cheap, I mean main deck. Let me just make that clear. Alright, so first off we have Evil Swarm. A lot of people are hating on Evil Swarm because it has that reputation for being, you know, that anti-meta thing. But Evil Swarm actually, if you have the right type of build, can counter a lot of the meta decks that are out there, like Necros, you know, Ophion. I think Evil Swarm has always been one of those types of decks that, in some formats, it'll just be really good. And it won't be one of those decks that just gets old after a while that'll never be good, because Ophion can stop pretty much any deck that comes out now or in the future, you know. And I think that the main deck is relatively cheap. So the next deck we have is Clifford. Clifford took a huge hit on the ban list, which caused many of its cards to drop in price, like Sacrifice and Scout. I believe its most expensive main deck card at the moment is Monolith, which is like $20. And you only play like 1 or maybe 2 of those, I think. So I think the main deck could be relatively cheap, you know, maybe 150 under 200, which is what I consider around to be budget. Budget, I would say, you know, a cap around 150 or 175. So yeah, and I think that the main deck, you know, the most expensive card would be the Monolith, and then you would play 2 discs, which are like 14 at the moment, Scout, which is like 7 or 8, you know, Sacrifice, which is like 3. And you only play 1 Scout and 1 Sacrifice. I don't think it can be that really expensive. Our next deck would be Heroes. Now, of course, you know, I think it's not surprising that this deck is cheap. However, you know, a lot of those cards that are not in the structure deck might get a bit expensive. Of course, you know, you can't just buy 3 structure deck and be ready to play for fun. But if you really want to go competitive with this deck and still be spending a reasonable amount of money, sorry about that, you're going to have to get some extra ones that are not in the structure deck. So I think the main deck for that would cost around, if you get the structure decks, you know, and the cards that you need, around like 50. Then we have Volcanics. You know, Volcanics, the main deck is really not that expensive. You know, the Blaze Accelerator Reload, that new card, is a common, so it can't be expensive. Roll Firestorm Guards is not very expensive because there's a rare version. And then we have the, sorry, my brothers were shouting in the background. Then we have, you know, a bunch of the Volcanic cards, which aren't really that expensive. I think like the most expensive one is Scattershot, which is like $2, but I may be wrong. And so we have other stuff like, you know, other cards that aren't very expensive in the deck. Of course, that makes the main deck cheap, but the extra deck can still get pretty expensive. So then we get on to our last deck, which is Ritual Beast. Now for Ritual Beast, you know, the main deck, it has a pretty expensive card in the main deck, being Emergency Teleport. So that makes the main deck, you know, around, I would say 130 is what I spent on it. And the extra deck, well, the main deck I spent 100-ish, but if I want to get my last E-Tele, I would spend like 130, and my other Mind Crush. And so the extra deck probably makes it around, I would say 200, 250 if you want to play it right. Because 8 of the slots of the extra deck, which are your 3 Candlehawk, 3 LT Pelio, and 3 LT Petalfin, those are all like $1 each. So that's gonna save you a lot of money. But for the Exciton, the Castel, all that stuff, you know, the Chidori, you're gonna need a bit of money for that. So that wraps up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to leave me any suggestions for stuff I should do in the future, just comment down below. Thanks, guys. See you next time.